Good evening. Welcome to this beautiful solstice evening. I'm Reverend Debora Gay, and I'll open our service tonight with prayer. We've just lit the central candle, which represents unity and oneness, the connection of all life to each other. And so I know with you that we are each such beautiful individual aspects of life, coming together to weave this great journey that we are on. And this night we lean into the darkness that is so rich and nurturing and deepening. We move into this silence, and yet never alone, always with the divine in partnership with us. We are surrounded by that internal, eternal knowingness. We know, even in this darkest of times, in this darkest night, that dawn is coming. The light is returning. And we turn towards the coming of that light, knowing the new day, the new dawn is coming. This we celebrate this night with you. And knowing the goodness that this is, we say together, and so it is.
Hello, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, where it is our intention to be a force for good in the world. I'm Reverend Monica DeCluet, and it is my great joy to welcome you into our winter solstice experience. We're so honored to be invited into your homes, your spaces, your locations, and your devices across the globe. Whether you're watching live or via the replay, we're so grateful that you're here and that we have this time to spend together. This evening's service was meant to be shared, so if you're joining us on Facebook, now would be an excellent time to like and share the post, to maybe tag a friend or two in the comments, or even start a virtual watch party. And if you're joining us on live stream, you can click the share button, copy the URL, and maybe drop it into a text or an email and invite your loved ones to join. All are welcome here at the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, and the more the merrier. This evening, we'll have opportunities for you to actively participate with us in the service. So you might like to have a candle nearby, a paper and something to write with, and give yourself a bit of extra space to move. And for those of you who really enjoy the chat, keep your devices handy. There will be opportunities to share some reflections that will incorporate live into the service. So keep your devices nearby. The intention and the invitation this evening from Reverends Abigail, Debora, Kawika, and I, for you, for us together, is to join in an intentional honoring of the winter solstice, the shortest day and longest night of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the magical transformations that this time can bring to our inner and outer nature. Together through storytelling, beautiful music from Garnett and Beverly, reflection and movement, we'll receive, honor, and celebrate Mother Nature's gifts. We'll deepen into and reflect on the wisdom gleaned from the darkness. We'll pause in the sacredness of the place in between, and we'll move into the newness of the light and what's to come. We're so grateful that you're with us. We hope you enjoy what we've created for you. And now we'll take a moment to turn our attention to tuning into the solstice, listening deeply, and receiving the gifts it has to give.
Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Winter Solstice Eve. This evening we'll be ringing a bell several times, and we invite you to just allow that bell to give you a moment of pause, to rest, to actually reflect upon the year of the darkness and the light.
Sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. Come on and open. I am opening. Open your arms. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. Opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening.
Good evening, everybody. I am Reverend Abigail Schairer, and what I want to say to all of you out there is Happy Yule. If you notice, we have our Yule tree, which is actually a pagan symbol of fertility and abundance and of bringing back the light here. So we're going to talk about this evening of the Yule and bringing the light into the darkness. We're also going to have in a few minutes an interactive portion where I'll be asking the question to all you out there, what wisdom have you gleaned in the darkness? So I want you to just kind of stir your mind and the possibilities of what you have learned in the darkness as I talk to you, because if you post it on the chat, we'll be reading this in just a couple of minutes, live and in person. Well, the Yule is a really interesting word. It has several suggested origins from the Old English word geola, or the Old Norse word, which is jol. And it was always a pagan festival that was celebrated during the winter solstice. And the Anglo-Saxon word for the festival of the winter solstice was Yule. And interestingly enough, Yule meant wheel. And it was pictured in old almanacs as literally a wheel. And it symbolized the cycles that we go through in the seasons, our cycles also representing the cycles of life, because it was traditional to be connected with nature and the outside world and to have our inner world match our outside world. So typically at this time of the year, when we're talking about the darkness and the inner time of the world, that is often represented by the divine feminine, and the rebirth of the sun, which is represented by the divine masculine as well. So here, when we're talking about the wheel and the Yule, which is symbolizing again the wheel, that is like the wheel of the zodiac or the wheel of our lives. And I love how it represents something cyclical and circular, and oftentimes it was represented by spirals, and different times of the year you can see the triple spiral represented each time of the year that we go through. So I want you to think about what in your world is spiraling, and maybe it's spiraling upward instead of spiraling downward. Here we teach about the evolution of the human spirit, of human consciousness as a spiral that's ever spiraling upward, that we're ever evolving, but we're always going over that same point, but in a different level of consciousness. And so this time of year is a perfect time of year for us to take that wisdom and that knowledge and bring it inside. The winter solstice, which is also the opportunity of us to look at the rebirth of the sun, it's an important turning point because it represents the shortest day and the longest night. It's when it is darkest and the hours of the daylight are at their least. And of course, we as humans, we've evolved in this cyclical nature. We have our seasons, we have our cycles of birth and living and maturity and even death. It's all in our DNA, and it's all passed through generation after generation. Early societies knew to expect this cycle. They honored all phases of this cycle. And probably the most important of this Earth time, in this Earth year, the winter solstice marks the delineation of an end, but at the same time, it's the beginning. The same moment is the end and the beginning. And that, I think, is really key to keep in mind in our consciousness and our awareness as we're celebrating this winter solstice. 8,000 years ago, ancient Europe honored the divine feminism, and as a goddess, they talked about the goddess, and the goddess was the symbolic mystery. She was the unknown, and somehow she held both life and death contained within her. And then she herself was the birth of the sun, which was the divine masculine. And so somehow she came out being both the giver of life and the one of death, which is both the end and the beginning. And instead of the end being a time where we look at with unhappiness, or the darkness as a time that we look for the unhappiness of what's going on, it was more an honoring of the richness and the wisdom and a celebration of what comes through at this period of darkness. I love this because also in ancient European symbolism, black did not mean death. So here in our society, we talk about black. People wear black to funerals oftentimes, unless you go to a Center for Spiritual Living funeral. I noticed that there's a lot of color around. But typically black means death, or it means the underworld. But instead, it represented fertility. It represented the color of damp caves and a womb where infinite possibility was birthed forth. And I really like that because it also talked about, when I was reading about this time period, it talked about this being a place of rich soil. So the blackness represents the womb and the rich, nutritious soil. And so really looking at that, I was thinking about what makes soil rich? What makes it rich? What makes the fertilizer filled with nutrients? How do we even make compost? Well, I've been learning a lot because I've been gardening since I moved here. And what you do I know all you expert gardeners out there, you know what you're doing, but I'm learning about this. So you get your green stuff together. So that's like your food stuff and your weeds and your manure if you have any. And then you pile it in with your dry stuff. So like all those dried leaves that fell during the fall, maybe your newspaper, maybe your wood chips, and you mix it all together. And then you let it sit, and the way it kind of combines together, the wet and the dry, it kind of rots and decays. But in that rot and decay is where the nutrients and the richness comes out into beingness. And I was thinking about this. Perhaps, maybe during this time of darkness, not even just in this winter time, but in this pandemic time, you've had some excessive consumption of food. Or did you take this time and pull out the weeds of your negativity? Did you have the manure of the pandemic impact your life in some way? And have you had to leave your plans by the wayside? And maybe you're ready to throw that news back into the soil. Or maybe you feel like your own trunk has been cut down and you've been made into wood chips. So let us go ahead and pile up all of that waste, all of that stuff. Let us do that now. Let us go ahead and pile it up together and let it just come together and let it ferment and rot away. And let us look at that right now and see what comes of it. What seeds of wisdom comes from that? Because this could be, for many people, a time period of the dark night of the soul. And St. John of the Cross, who actually wrote the poem, The Dark Night of the Soul, you may not have known that, sometime between 1542 and 1591. He said in this poem, it says, this 8-stanza poem outlines the soul's journey from the distractions and entanglements of the world to perfect peace and harmony of union with God. And according to the poet, the dark night of the soul is synonymous with traveling the narrow way that Jesus spoke of in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 to 14. So the concept of the dark night of the soul has been adopted by many different traditions. And the idea is that it describes a beginning. And the beginning starts with self-doubt, and there's deep depression. And when all seems lost, there is something in it that provides an awakening, a shift to a new way of thinking or a new way of being or a new awareness. And it is literally born of that darkness. And so in this time period, perhaps, we know that there is an awakening happening within us. That truly the tearing down of old structures and the dismantling of old ways of being is allowing us to glean a new wisdom within ourselves personally and collectively. So instead of demonizing the darkness, let us shift into embracing the wisdom that it brings forth within us. Let us look for those nuggets. Let us find those seeds of truth that have been implanted within us and awakened, and the little sprouts are starting to come up to birth some newness in this world. A massive compost can rot down really quickly. And when a seed is planted, there's a new life, and there's a new way of being. And within the seed is already all the wisdom that it needs in order to become the fullness that it is. So I want to have you think about again this question. What new way of being, new seed, new awareness, new awakening, new wisdom has been implanted in you in this darkness that you have awakened to? These are the seeds that grow within that soil. These are the seeds that are birthed within that womb of darkness. So I'd like you to do this, I'd like you to use this time as an opportunity to share what seeds of wisdom that you've gleaned in the darkness this year. And what we're going to do as a physical representation, Reverend Kawika and I are going to read these off, and Reverend Debora will light a candle for each person, symbolizing our collective wisdom that has emerged, that in the darkness, this light has come forth. And I'd also like you, if you happen to have got that candle with you today, even if you don't share, I'd like you to light that candle representing that wisdom and that light awakening within you right here and right now. So I have a couple of people who responded to me. I did a little post on Facebook, and I have a response already. So I want to go ahead and start this time off, and we can start lighting those candles and sharing that with each other. So Kathleen Boltman-Sheaver said, "There is wisdom in being alone. In the silence is where the peace comes. Inclusivity manifests from me on a spiritual level."
And some of the people who have contacted me also said, from Cheryl Graham from Canada, said that this is a time for her to work on herself, to do self-healing, that she believes not only in herself, but to do the self-care. She's learned to be a mentor, a teacher, and to claim her eternal birthright because she is one with God.
And Reverend Robert Calkin said, "I have received time to increase my spiritual practice just when it is most needed."
And Karen Polanchek from Seattle said that she learned so much that there is a goodness available, and it's always available. And she's learning to tune in and tap into the goodness available.
And Mari Falsetto said, "I have the time and spaciousness to slow down and process deep grief and loss, as well as to dance with my fears, big shifts that are still in process with a light ahead in view."
And Michael Wendt from Bonnie Lake, Washington, said, "There's no such thing as a bad year. There's only bad thoughts I can think of."
And Suzanne West said, "I was reminded over and over of Martin Luther King's famous quote, 'Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.' She said, 'Darkness told me that it is nothing to fear, but to befriend.' As we all have darkness and shadows within that need the light of my attention and compassion in order to be dissipated." I also remember Anne Frank's quote, "Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness."
And Raymond from Canada said he is an individualized expression of the one life, and that science and spirituality are never in competition.
Heather Weldon said, "The wisdom I've received is I am and I will always be okay. Sadness and fear are not permanent states. They always pass. The light always comes, always."
And on live stream, we have Zoe, who said, "The darkness gives my roots to the stability and nutrients to give me the ability to reach for the light and bloom."
Leslie Haynes says, "Wisdom has come from all directions to awaken me to the experiences of other people and has opened me to new ways of connection. I'm especially grateful for the teachings of the Centers for Spiritual Living Diversity Commission.
And Valerie in West Seattle, hey Valerie, compost also needs to be turned periodically to introduce oxygen and release some of the heat of the decomposition.
And Linda Potter says, what I've learned is that my ability to feel a passion for life is greatly enhanced by my ability to feel compassion for others.
And Lisa Jing said, there's no limitation in spirit, only limitation in my thinking and expectations.
And Candace Crowley says, this year has felt like an incubator where I was in a constant experiment with myself. I finally see my various reactions, triggers, and fears for what they are, transitory, and merely temporary distractions from the truth of who I am as a perfect expression of the divine.
And Anna Maria on live stream said, complete trust in spirit brings so much freedom.
And Nancy Rice says, getting outdoors daily, rain or shine, inspires me in my belief that this world is filled with beauty and love.
And Rob Barrick, my husband from Seattle, said there's no real darkness, only imperceptible light. I've learned to focus on the perception of light and not get stuck in the dark while learning the lessons of the darkness.
We have Laura Thomas on Facebook, and she said, I learned that there is much healing. There is much healing there when we turn our attention held in the darkness, freeing us up into opening up to freedom, then room for joy, peace, and new beginnings.
Do you have more?
I don't.
And that was the end of the live stream.
Fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcome by here. We'll dance 'neath the stars and toast the new year. For the spirit of solstice is still here. We'll count all our blessings while the mother lays down, with snow as her blanket covering the ground. Thanks to the mother for the light that she brings. She'll waken to warm us again in the spring. Poor and the hungry, the sick and the lost, these are our children, no matter the cost. Come by the fire, the harvest to share, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. Fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcome by here. We'll dance 'neath the stars and toast the past year. For the spirit of solstice is still living here. The spirit of solstice is still living here. We will observe 1 minute of silence.
how sweet that silence is. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Garnett. It was beautiful. There are such sweet lyrics in there. Just to be able to say some of that, it's like to think that count your blessings as the mother lays down with the snow as her blanket covering the ground. That is just amazing lyrics. I have to say, this is the part sort of in between the darkness before the light. And there's just a part where, let's face it, some people just think that the darkness has a bad reputation. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, think of rotting and fermenting that Abigail was talking about. Yeah. Sometimes people don't like that, but yet it serves a purpose. It serves a purpose. We often could talk about this idea of wholeness, where there's nothing lacking, nothing missing, that everything is a part of the whole. That is what we're looking at. We're looking at both where the darkness and the light comes together. It's the place of balance. In Asian traditions, it would be known as the yin and the yang, the night and the day, right? The hot and the cold, the masculinity and the femininity. But yet, there is that place where things come together, where nothing is lacking or missing. And it's finding that balance in the midst of it. So I've been invited this evening to do a movement, and I'm going to invite you to join me. Very simple, but of course, do what you feel most comfortable with. But our body itself has such immense wisdom. So I'm going to invite you to just place a hand over your heart and a hand on your abdomen, and just take a breath. A breath, one that circles just as easy as the night and the day. A breath. And as you're breathing in, I want you to recognize that the darkness is nothing to be afraid of. The darkness serves a purpose. And on one of the exhales, I'm going to invite you to just move your hands down, as if towards the earth for which we have roots like a tree moving from our feet, or maybe from your back end if you're sitting, but to allow yourself to simply allow those roots to go deep into the earth. And as you inhale, allow that Mother Earth energy to move up and into the heart and the abdomen. Once again, to exhale and to inhale, bringing up that warm, nourishing, brown energy, full of all the warmth that you need. Now I invite you, as you have your hand on your heart and one on your abdomen, to actually let go and to exhale, releasing and honoring the night, the dark night, and to welcome in the stars, the moon, even the sun into the body, and bringing in and breathing, exhale and inhale. Great. There's such wisdom. One last. To inhale and to exhale, bringing in all that light and mixing it with the dark of the earth and the light of the universe. I invite you to use that any time you wish. And I'll welcome Debora Gay to do a conversation more on the light.
Reverend Harold, you're such a treasure. Thank you. The wisdom of the body. So we're now in a timeless moment. And solstice means that the sun stands still. We're in the great pause, the moment before the shift happens, the moment before we turn to the light. And the shift comes just before the gloom becomes too much for us to ever recover from. Ancient people believed that humans were needed to consciously help bring back the light. And that remains true for us today, even if it is just a metaphor, because we each have dark times in our life. And this year has been particularly challenging. So many changes, so many transitions, so many releasing of the old ways of life. And for some of us, releasing dear ones who have passed on. And so tonight we honor all that 2020 has brought. We honor the people who have passed. We honor the creativity of people who have found new ways to love, support, and serve. And this year, something very, very special is happening in our solar system. It's called the Great Conjunction. And it's Jupiter and Saturn, our two largest planets, are coming closer and closer together. In our perspective from Earth, they almost merge into one great star that's being called the Christmas star. So this hasn't happened for 400 years. And I have read that even that 400-year time, not many people saw it. So the last time most of humanity saw this conjunction was in the Middle Ages, the 1200s. So for us, this is all a sign that a shift is happening here on Earth. Something important is changing, and it's time to pause, and it's time to take stock. So what do I want my life to be filled with in 2021? It is a time to listen to our hearts, just as Harold taught us with our bodies. What is written in your heart that it is now time to express? What does your soul long for? For that ancient and wise part of you knows what this is. And if we let our intuition guide us, it will help us in this quiet and this silent time of the darkness to plant that seed that your soul longs to bloom forth in the spring. And we don't need to let fear get in the way. We don't let confusion or vagueness or unfocusedness come in the way, because just like the ancient people who knew that we must consciously call forth the light, we do this as well by focusing on the goodness of life and focusing on the goodness in the people around us and in the planet and in the environment and all that is creating a shift to love and light and goodness in the planet. And we don't need to do this alone. We can't come together physically, but we can continue to be spiritual community together. And one way I'm going to invite you is to join me tomorrow night on Zoom for a solstice meditation at 7 o'clock, where we can continue to cultivate our intuitive knowing, so we can create what we long to create for 2021 and be in a community of meditation to pull that goodness towards us. We are returning. We are returning light for ourselves, for each other, for the earth itself. We are the light.
Light is returning, even though this is the darkest night. No one can hold back the dawn. Light is returning, even though this is the darkest night. No one can hold back the dawn. Let's keep it burning. Let's keep the light of hope alive. Make safe our journey through the storm. Let's keep it burning. Let's keep the light of hope alive. Make our journey through the storm. One planet is turning, circle on her path around the sun. Earth Mother is calling her children home. One planet is turning, circle on her path around the sun. Earth Mother is calling her children home. Light is returning, even though this is the darkest hour. No one can hold back the dawn. No one can hold back the dawn.
Thank you so much, Bev and Garnett. That was beautiful. And as we come to a close this evening, I just want to thank you all for all of your support and a reminder that this truly is the time for us to go to the place within and start turning to the place of the new. And we have a lot of newness happening this year. Of course, our pandemic experience has caused us all to operate in new ways. And some of the ways that we're doing is just like today, we have our winter solstice service online for all of you. And Reverend Debora talked about doing a solstice meditation. So again, that's happening tomorrow night. It's happening via Zoom. So you need to make sure that you check in to register so you can get that Zoom link. And also, we're going to be having our typical Christmas Eve service and our typical Christmas Eve services, but in the atypical manner of having it virtual and having it online for all of you. So I know that a lot of you have holiday parties going on virtually. I'm assuming they're all virtual holiday parties. And we would like to invite you to invite us into your living room as part of your holiday celebration. So the Christmas Eve service is happening at 7 p.m., happening in the same format that we're doing now on Facebook Live and live stream, and the same with our Christmas Eve service, which is happening on Thursday at 5 p.m., 7 p.m., and 9 p.m. on live stream. So that's going on. We're also having Kathy Ann is going to be at the beginning of the year. She's teaching an amazing workshop called Living with Intention. And for those of you who have taken her Living with Intention workshop before, this is a brand new version. So I encourage you, if you want to start off this new year with a new experience of intention and you want to devote this time to yourself, that is going to be happening on January 3rd. It'll be happening after services on Sunday. And we're having many new ministries birthing right now. There's a lot more to come in the new year, but I can just tell you that we're going to be having, the practitioners have put together a Monday night meditation that's going to be happening. We also have practitioners who are going to be doing prayer circles. So I encourage you to keep up with our website, to register with us if you haven't via our connection card, and sign up because we have so much going on. We want to invite you to participate with us in all of our happenings. And I want to thank you again for gathering with us in community online today. We are so grateful for all that you have done for us in this very challenging time. And if you want to make a gift today, then I encourage you to do that right now in honor of our service. And you can do this several different ways. You can click the donate button on your screen. You can text GIVE to 844-315-7968. We have an app on the mobile store, so you can check out our CSL app, and that you can give through that. You can also check out our website, and there's a give place on the top there, and you can even make a pledge to support us in 2021 on our website as well. Other ways to give are making a check out or giving us a call at our office. We gratefully and humbly accept your generous donations because we are a nonprofit and we rely on you to keep us going. So thank you so much for your gifts, tithes, and offerings. And I know and claim for all of you who are giving right now that your gift multiplies abundantly, easily, effortlessly, and often for both the giver, you, and the receiver, us, and that we all benefit as a result of it. So thank you so much for your gifts. I am grateful. And I do want to say one quick thing I almost forgot. Today we are having live online prayer support, but it's going to be happening via Zoom. So just check out your live stream link, and we have practitioners sitting by waiting to see you face to face and to pray with you if you have anything on your heart that you need prayer for. So be sure to click in and sign up for that. It's happening right after this service. And I believe I'm going to pass this over to you for a closing song.
Okay, well, this is a simple song that you guys can sing at home. It was written by our wonderful friend, Rafe Perlman. And I think he wrote it for the Solstice we did up at Linwood Unity together like 2 years ago. But it's called New Light, and it's pretty simple. We'll just kind of sing it over, and you'll catch the song. I see a new life shining so bright. I see a new life shining so bright. That's it. I see a new light. I see a new life shining so bright. Oh, I see a new light shining so bright. You gonna pray for us now?
Oh yeah, I'm going to pray for
Give
us.
us some prayer.
And so in this new life and in this new light, I recognize and know that this is a time when we love and appreciate and grow in a new way. And so I just claim and know for each and every one of us that this is the infinite presence of light, of life, of givingness to itself that is happening in and through each and every one of us. And so I know and claim that I see that even in the darkness, there is light. I embrace the darkness because I know that the seed of truth that is planted within me is an awakening to a new way of being. And so I embody and embrace it. I know and claim that the darkness is the womb that births forth that new light, that births forth within me and within each and every one of us something new, something original, something magnificent, something amazing that has never been seen before on this planet, and it is happening right here and right now. It is a new light. It is a new life, and so I embrace it. I know and claim that it is powerful and magnificent, and I just allow it to move through me and dance through me and sing through me in new ways of possibility.
I'm coming out of the dark. Let this light shine. I'm coming out of the dark, yeah. Let this new light shine. I see a new light, ooh, a new life shining, oh, so bright. I see a new light, a new life shining, so bright.
So I know that new light, that new embodiment of this light, it is birthed within me, it's birthed within each and every person who's listening to these words, that they cannot help but be renewed and refreshed and uplifted and shifted and gifted in ways that are just so amazing that my mind is bursting forth with joy and happiness because something has shifted from this world, from this time period of darkness. Something is different within me. And it's allowed me to embrace a new body. It's allowed me to embrace new relationships. It's allowed me to embrace new technology. It's allowed me to embrace seeing people across the world. It's allowed me to be in community in new ways I never thought were possible. It's allowed me to open to my own wisdom. It's allowed me to have peace and calm and quiet. It's allowed me to be in relationship with my partner. It's allowed me to do so much more than I could have ever imagined. And so I know that something is shifted. Something is birthed right here and right now. It is the birth of the sun, the new way of being. It's a seed that has been planted in this deep, dark, amazing, nutritious earth, this deep, dark place of renewal, of regrowth, of where all the crap that comes down now provides something new for all of us. And so I just allow that to really deepen and enrichen my life, that I just sit with it. I just allow it to permeate my being. I allow it to permeate who I am. And I know that in that permeation that I am reborn again to a new way of being. And so that happens right here, right now, within me, within each and every one of us. I just breathe it in. I feel that seed. I feel that awareness. I feel that newness. I'm so grateful for it right now. So passionate, so amazing. And sometimes I recognize and know that I can't even feel what it is because it's bigger than what I can imagine. And so I just surrender to it and I allow that new light and that new life to birth forth right now within me. And for that I'm grateful. And so it is.
I see a new light, oh, a new life shining, oh, so bright. Oh, I see a new light, a new life shining, so bright. I see a new light, a new life shining, so bright. That's right. I see a new light, a new life shining, so bright.
Thank you all. You have a blessed evening and take care of yourself. Happy solstice, happy Yule. Many blessings to all of you.